Well, it's Friday, everybody. Good morning. I hope you're well. Welcome to this somewhat late in the day and also shorter stream. That's because there's an important phone call I'm expecting in about the next half hour, unfortunately, and I have to be available for it. So, sorry for the short stream, but I can make up for that with, I hope, what is some good news. For the past 2 weeks or more, there's been many show-stopping bugs which cause the Unity editor to crash, and I've spent hours and hours trying to track this down, and I have not tracked it down. There's a surprise, but the better thing is that I have learned a little bit about how to maybe find this. The first thing is because the editor hangs, but the rest of the system stays fine, as in the rest of the computer stays fine. It's probably because we're dealing with an infinite loop. It's very probable because of my Baroque and spaghetti code, which I've discussed many times. It is very possible that that's happened. So I've hunted through everything. I've gone through all of my while statements, of which there are very, very few actually, because I don't trust myself with whiles either. And I've put debugging code in them to know when we enter the loops. And right now there's only one loop that we really enter very often, which is all the time, which is my metronome. I have a system which divides time up into musical measures, and that's there as infrastructure to help the music system whenever that gets going, so that we can shift between music but do it in time. So that's got a while loop, which you might expect to have in something like that. And that's what we're seeing down in this console down here, and it'll count up. But occasionally we run into something else which sends the editor to hang, and that might actually be an infinite loop. So these are apparently really, really hard to track down. However, there's a way by attaching the Visual Studio IDE, or any IDE that's going to do debugging in the Unity-friendly way, which turns out to be the only one I can install, is actually just Visual Studio. Anyway, by doing some attaching from that debugger, we might be able to see what's happening. I've spent a long time, because I don't understand how this works, over the past 2 days trying to figure out how to get that to work. I thought it wasn't working. Turns out I just don't know how to use the IDE, which is, hey, another surprise. So, what I've done is I've got a surefire way to replicate the symptoms, if not the actual cause, of this infinite loop by creating an infinite loop. So there's this new script here. It's a tiny script, and what that script does, here's the whole thing. It creates an infinite loop. In fact, I'm going to get rid of that because I know updates called once per frame, and I don't need the debugs in there either. All this does is has a bool called start loop set to false when it starts, and in the update I've got a while statement, and the while is basically a while true statement. So while start loop is true, set the dummy float, which is just a dumb variable, set it to 0, which is basically setting it to itself. So it does absolutely nothing, but it does completely crash the Unity editor. Otherwise, if start loop isn't true, it just sends a counter up, so we can watch this system working. Pardon me. So here we go. We are going to try to purposefully crash the editor, and then we're going to try to see if we can get Visual Studio to attach and to tell us where the infinite loop is actually happening. Oh, and I had set a breakpoint here because I thought maybe if I set a breakpoint somewhere, the editor would attach, or the debugger would attach. Turns out it was attaching all along. I just didn't know how to use it. And that's because Visual Studio for Mac, at least this most recent version, is quite different from a lot of the guides that I see which are Windows-based. So I just didn't know what anything was called because I don't know IDEs. Okay, there's a joke in that, but it's a dad joke and I won't make it. Alright, so let's start. And you're going to see absolutely nothing happen except that most of the landscape here disappears and just leaves our tower ruins isolated, which is what we want. So there we are, and we can see that it's working. And if we look down here in the corner, we see that counter is really going up 1 per frame. Okay, so if we hit start loop, it's going to hang. So you can see that the counter's frozen. We don't even have a check mark on the start loop variable. And we've got the spinning beach ball of death. Let's see if we can get this IDE to attach. So let's go over to, not OBS. Let's go over to Visual Studio here. And we can see that here's our script, but let's go look at some other script. Let's go look on our favorite object placement script, the big workhorse. Okay, now we go to run on the Mac version. Currently, we go to run and we say attach to process. It already says debug and attach to Unity up here. The only process it's looking for, because it's working with just the Unity debugger, is Unity, which is the editor, and it's running in the background. We hit attach. Bunch of windows and pads and stuff come up down here. Nothing happens. Don't worry about it, because here's the big part that I spent hours on until late last night when I finally figured this out. It's paused. The editor attaching debugging is paused. So if I just hit this pause button, watch what happens. All right, well, great. What should have happened is it should have advanced or tried to advance 1 frame, and then it should have popped us back into this infinite loop here. And it should have showed us the thread. Well, come on. I just tested this right before I went on stream. Of course, nothing happens. Sigh. Okay. Well, when I tested this right before the stream, of course, what I got... Oh, there it is. It's working. No problem. Okay, what's happened is that it can show me the thread, and it shows me where I've got a problem. And it says... Now if I could just get this... And if I double click on that, it gives me the call stack, which is pretty cool. So it tells me what method I'm running into this problem, and it actually jumps in and shows me the first brace on the while loop. It says, this is the point at which everything's crashing. So that's what we need to know. If I were to double click on this, it would jump straight into the script and show me that's what's happened. So I can see that in this case, this is where our while loop is. And here's another thing. You can see if I hover over the Unity window in the background, I get the beach ball. I can actually break this without having to force quit Unity too. So here's what happens. You go into the locals, shows you the local variables about what's going on in here. And it even tells me what objects it's attached to, which is pretty cool. And I can see all the current value of each of my variables on the script. Counters at 477, dummy float 0 because it wouldn't be anything else. My start loop is set to true, so I can go in here. I can set the start loop to false, and then I can pause it. And once I paused it, look, I've broken out of it. And you can see the start loop is set to false, the counter's going up, and I'm back in the system. So, it worked. Yay! So maybe, just maybe, whenever an actual real infinite loop, or whatever it is that's causing the Unity editor to hang, when that shows up, maybe, just maybe, we can jump in and see what's going on, which would be really, really cool. So let me just go in and save those cosmetic changes I made to start loop, or the infinite loop. And while we're doing that, here's a cool thing. So do you guys know about Torres Bonnet's, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Ruben Torres Bonnet, his blog called the Unity Guru is pretty good. It's really good, actually. It's, sorry, Ruben, if this ever gets to you. It's told in a little bit of its style of voice may get in the way of the usable content, shall we say, but because it tries to speak in kind of cool speak, and it should probably just say, hey, here's a cool thing, look at it. It does a lot more of just saying, here's a cool thing, and here's a cool thing, and here's a cool thing before actually showing it to you. Anyway, my apologies, Ruben, for that, because the content is really brilliant in so many levels. He's just run through ray tracing in Unity. He was doing addressables before, which is great because neither of those are very well documented. But he just had a quick tip over on Gamasutra, which had reposted his blog, but you can subscribe to it too. He just posted a quick tip about certain tools in Unity to try to figure out where Unity's spending a lot of time. One of them is this right here, which is the compilation timeline. And if you recompile, which is what we're doing right now, check this out. Because it takes like 10-15 seconds for this project to recompile. Apparently less than that, apparently like 13 seconds. But it shows you at each step along the way what Unity's calling when it's doing this recompile. So this is after every time you update your code. You can see where you're having, what DLLs and things you're running, and then apparently you can jump inside that and you can figure some more stuff out as well. Or at least take a look at what it's trying to do. So, yeah. I'm not quite sure how to interpret all of this yet, but it looks fun. There's another one that actually shows you what Unity's doing in your very first frame that again takes, because what it does is it recompiles, or it backs everything up and recompiles and then runs, and that takes a long time. It shows you what you're doing. Unfortunately, it's only for Unity versions 2019.3 and above. I tried to use it in 2019.2, but it wouldn't compile. Anyway, you should go over to his most recent one posted on Gamasutra, because it's useful. So that's the Game Dev Guru. Anyway, look at that, a first promotion, which honestly, we've never spoken before. Okay, so I'm just going to move ahead and pretend like I now have some sort of infinite power to figure out what's actually going on in the game. And one thing I want to try to do is I want to try to change the effect for the transition between different times. Right now, you get a cool kind of time travel window with a shattered glass approach, a la Dishonored 2, and I should probably change that at some point. You get this kind of cool thing where you get a little window into the past and you get to see both periods overlaid on top of each other, which is cool. When you actually time travel, it's kind of a blink and you miss it event right now, where the window just closes itself back up and disappears. What I want to do instead is to have that kind of time travel portal fill the whole screen to make it look like you're actually going through or going into the portal. So, what I've got to do is I tried to scale it first, but that didn't work very well because of UVs. Instead, if I just move it forward towards the camera, you can really see that happen. So let me kind of show you what I'm trying to replicate here. Let's get into this and get into my camera. It's the shattered portal null, which is the thing I'm interested in. Okay, so bear with me. We're going to have to do a little bit of playing through the first two stages. It'll be just a few seconds. And hey, we might get quote unquote lucky, and we might actually get a crash to happen, which I hate still, but maybe I'll actually have a way of taking a look and seeing where the system is hanging. By the way, I don't get these hangs very often, or maybe at all, on my laptop, and this is the project from my laptop. I just copied it over. We'll get a crash today, I'm sure, on this one, and maybe that has something to do with some sort of null reference or some sort of error being encountered, but because my laptop's got SSDs in it instead of regular old hard drives, maybe the data access read-write speed is fast enough not to have to deal with that. I don't know. Also, this is feeling sluggish today, so I have no idea what's going on with that. Some days it runs really fast, some days it runs really slow. But it's running kind of slow today, so we may actually get our bug. Okay, here we go. So here comes the effect. So I'm going to choose a word for this coin. Choose open portal. Here it comes. So there's the portal. Cool. You can kind of see that the, you know, the radio dishes and stuff, the weird buttressing, they're all gone. And if we press the space bar, there, we're back into the time we could see through the portal. Fun. What instead I want to have happen is I want to have the portal. Now we can just jump between them. Let's see, I've got the open portal again. Let's see what happens. Okay, so the portal's open there. That's cool. It's showing, now it's showing the buttress, which is even an even cooler effect, I have to say. What I want to do is I want to have this portal come towards us. So right now it's 26 units away, and I want to have it, when you press the space bar, zoop. Oh, cool. It's there's some problems there. Anyway, I want to have it come forward to us, bloop, like that, and then disappear. Because that looks like you're going through the portal. See? How exciting, huh? So that's what I want to do. I just simply want to move it towards the camera. So, and then once it moves towards the camera, see, if I get it past the camera, if I get down to 0, I get past the camera, and then we've actually just popped back into the present time. So I want to have it get up here, and then we do the jump. So there's a couple of things to trigger. So anyway, that's what I would like to show. And we didn't get a crash. How interesting. I'm actually going to get rid of this compilation time thing. So it does all sorts of fun stuff. But anyway, I'm going to get rid of this right now. And I think I'm actually going to close down our profiler too. Because look, we're getting like a really rock steady frame rate for most of the time here. We're getting it, you know, there's no huge spikes. I mean, there's a lot of noise here, but I don't know where we're at. But we're, you know, most of the time we're well below, you know, we've got a really good frame rate. Which, hey, congratulations to me. I used to have much worse frame rate, but that's when I had 5 cameras rendering at the same time, and now I've got 1. Although that portal was 2. So that's all cool stuff. Anyway, I'm going to get rid of the profiler for now, too. That's cool, you can go into colorblind mode. Sorry. Ooh. Okay, I'm colorblind, and that does make a lot of this a lot clearer. That's pretty cool. Maybe I should use colorblind mode the whole time. I had no idea there was a colorblind mode. That's really neat. Anything else? No. Sorry. Let's get rid of this. Stay on target. I'm just so happy I got this silly editor debugger attached to work. Okay, 15 minutes left. Let's see what we can do. Let's open up our portal behavior. Okie dokie. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room here. All right, so in the portal behavior, I'm going to throw away the infinite loop tester. Not throw it away, I just don't need it up. Okay, so what happens is when you press the space bar in Time Travel Manager, way down here, when you press the space bar, it prompts a setup to it prompts a kind of relayering, system relayering setup thing. And then it runs the toggle active end of the wormhole. So toggle active end of the wormhole is right here. That actually jumps you back and forth between them. Setup time B, that should broadcast. Build holes, where's the open portal bit? Hide portal, there we go. Where's it broadcasting my portal opening? Toggle active end of the wormhole. Hide portal date change. Maybe it just listens for date changed. That'd be weird. No, reveal portal. I don't know. Somewhere in the Time Travel Manager there. I don't know where it's calling reveal portal. Yeah, it doesn't matter because it's working. What we want to do is, I had done a thing here where I was like rotating the portal. I had a thing where it was scaling the portal, and it would scale it really large so the portal opens. None of that was working out for me. Here's hide portal here. So here's where I was having it scale. So instead what I want to do is I just want to have it move. I want to just have it move in its local Z direction. So instead of scaling right now, in fact, let's just kill these. That's my two scalars that I don't want to have happen. What I want it to do this scales it up. That's great. It's not really what we want to have happen right now. Okay, we're going to hard code in a value here, which I don't want to do, but that's just for ease of use. Okay, we want to move it, so it's going to be another tween. I love my lean tween here. Lean tween dot move local Z. Okay. We're going to move that. It's going to be on this game object. It's going to move to 0.8. That's kind of about the value we wanted. And it's going to move over. Let's give it 2 seconds to do that. Maybe too long, maybe too short. That's the hard-coded value we're working on here. What kind of easing do we want? Set ease. Let's just use the regular easing that's being used for everything. It's already got a delay. Okay, set delay. Random time divided by 4.0 seconds. That's an art 4.0. Okay, we're going to create another function here, public void hide portal movement complete. Great. Okay, we're going to move these guys down into there. Okay. So those guys are going to go in there. I'm just going to comment these out because it's likely this little test is not going to be satisfying to me, and I'll change it later. Set on complete. It's my favorite thing I love to abuse in lean tween. These set on completes, because it's like a whole timer system, but I don't have to worry about code routines, which is a bunch of fun, not worrying about code routines. Okay, there we go. So once it does this, it's going to jump in here and do this. I'm going to change my anim time. I'm going to change my delay to be just point. You know what? I'm going to change it to be like 1/3 of a second. That even might feel too long. Okay. There we go. We'll see what happens, because we may not even want this scale thing in there. And then hide portal on complete is called. It disables camera B. And this is where we're going to have to do another change to set the actual timing of the jump between times. But that's going to be a little more complex. So let's just see if we can get this thing to kind of rush towards the screen and then turn off. Okay, so it's compiled. That one. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right. Crud, we've got to play through this first. Maybe we'll get a crash. Maybe we can see what happens. I'll get all flustered and panicked if the crash does happen, though, and I'll forget how to run Visual Studio. All right. Let's zoom in here. Let's build some arches. Build one arch. At least build that staircase. That's always fun to watch build. It's my favorite rebuild animation. There's our arc frag. Let's build a perp window today for this run through. Build that corner up. Go pick up that arc frag, because that allows us to build a 2-story version of the tower rather than a 3-story, and that gets us to our time travel moment sooner. Okay, there's all of our beautiful stuff. Do you see how much faster it's running in the editor now? I don't know. Okay, here we go. It says it's lost. Let's open the portal. Our portal is open now. Everything's beautiful. Now, press the space bar. Oh, that's not the effect we wanted, although it's pretty trippy. Okay, well, that was a kick. That is really not what we wanted to have happen, and what I was trying to avoid. Cool looking thing, though. Okay. Let's think about what's going on with that one. What's going on with that is that my Ambient Occlusion, which is an old post-process stack effect, it's really not happy with what I'm doing. And so it just creates this really cool smear on screen. Now, why it doesn't do that when I manually move it, rather it does that. See, that's very strange. When I move it manually, when I go in there and do that, no problem whatsoever. But when I move it forward, woo, yeah. But when I move it forward, boy, it really doesn't like that. Huh. I gotta figure out a way to get around that, but not this morning. Yeah, I've got to find a way to get that. I've got to find a way to get that ambient occlusion running and updating like it does when I manually move. Okay, well, there's a fun, cool looking though, wasn't it? There's a fun thing to do. And we get a bonus kind of screen turns to white deal too, which is really cool. Okay, so that's a fun effect. Not really the effect we wanted. I'm going to try to work on that. Maybe on Monday we'll get to see that, but we're running up to the end of my time here because I'm expecting this important phone call. So sadly we're going to have to call it quits there, but at least we didn't run into a crash. We could recreate the symptoms of the crash at least, and we could figure out what was happening in our code by attaching the debugger. So at least there's something going on there. So I feel like we've made progress, and you can tell I'm actually happy. I was in a real foul mood yesterday. Would not be a nice person to know yesterday. But last night I figured out that one little step. It made me feel like I could move forward. So I hope we all figure out whatever one little step it is that's blocking us from eternal happiness or whatever, and we're all able to move forward, and we'll join up and be a lot happier on Monday. So sorry for this half-hour stream today, but I do hope you have a really good weekend. So we will talk to you on Monday. Bye for now.